You and I both know you're good at what you do, really good. Your one on one clients get results. They refer you to their friends, they leave testimonials. Sometimes you tear up a little bit because you're so proud of what they say. But sometimes, somewhere in the back of your mind, you know that you could be reaching more people. Whatever your idea and expertise is, you know it could scale, but you don't know how. Every time you start talking about building a group program or course, something stops you. And maybe it's because you've watched other coaches try it and you thought, yep, whatever they did just didn't feel like me. Maybe you already have tried it and something didn't land the way it feels like in your one on one. The mindset shifts, the transformation, the camaraderie. You are afraid that you can't turn it into something structured enough for a group program. So you stay in one-on-one land, which you're great at, but you're also capped. You only have so much time in a day. Your calendar is full, your energy is finite, but there are people out there who need what you know and can't access it at either your current price point or availability. So today I want to talk about what's actually been stopping you, because I don't think it's what you think it is. I want to walk you through the exact framework I use to help coaches like you go from working one-on-one to building something that scales. I call my process from genius to guide, and by the end of the episode, you're going to see that what you're afraid of, what you're holding back, what you're fearful of, we can actually design for it. So let me tell you what I hear most often when I talk to coaches who haven't scaled yet. First thing is, my work is too nuanced for a group format. And I understand why you might feel that way, because in a one-on-one, you can adapt in the moment. You're directly reading the person in front of you in real time. You can pivot and you're customizing every single session. And the idea of taking that and blowing it up to doing that with multiple people all at once, it feels like it would kill the essence of what you do. It feels like it would be too much, like your mind wouldn't have a chance to catch up to all the one-on-one training you're doing in a group space. But here's the thing, that's not what happens in the best groups that I help design. Whatever you do one-on-one can actually be enhanced, and we can utilize the resources in the room, the people there with you, to make it a more impactful experience than you get when you're only one-on-one with somebody. So a lot of times you think what you do can't scale. It's just because you don't have the right structure for it. The second thing I hear is, I've seen too many bad coaching programs. And these are group programs that you don't want to emulate. And honestly, that's not fear talking. That's quality discernment. That means you care. And I agree with you. I have also experienced programs that felt too superficial or overwhelming or disconnected. Maybe it didn't have any structure. That only means you have high standards. That's a good thing. And so the problem with those high standards in a design process is it starts leading to paralysis, where you just don't take any action because you're not confident that you know how to do it right. And the third thing I've seen that maybe nobody wants to say out loud is, what if I build a group coaching program and nobody gets results? Because in a one-on-one, you can course correct in the moment, but in a group program, if the design is off, you can't necessarily fix it for everyone in real time. And moreover, there's witnesses. And so it can feel like a bigger potential for failure. But that vulnerability, I understand it. It is real. It's what stops a lot of coaches cold. But I want to say to all three of those, they're not reasons not to scale. They're reasons to design intentionally, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So my specialty is seeing people's big ideas, their expertise, and helping them break it down, making it more digestible so you can turn that expertise into a group coaching program, a book, whatever you want. So maybe it's a course, but knowing that you only have so much time and energy in a day, and we want to protect that. But at the same time, we want to help more people so we can make a bigger impact. So let me help you level up. We're going to dive into the reframe. Changing modalities, creating new offers that help scale your coaching, these are all solved by good design. Design problems, we can solve for that. They have solutions. So the reason your one-on-one work is probably so good is that you have spent years living it, refining it. You know what questions to ask, and you know the order things need to happen in, or how to read your client and decide what they need in the moment. And you usually know how to take them to the next step. That is a framework. You're already using one. Chances are you just haven't written it down yet. So my process from genius to guide is the process of making that framework explicit, taking what's in your head and in your body after years of one-on-one experience, those instincts, the sequencing, the magic that comes from those interactions, we can build it into a structure to hold more people without losing what makes it uniquely yours. And when that structure is right, your group program doesn't feel like a watered down version of your one-on-one. It can feel completely different, and in some ways, I'd say more powerful, because that's what a good design can do. We can amplify and multiply all the resources in the room to make it an even more amazing experience. Let's start with phase one, discovery and clearing. We don't start with content. We start with you, because the first thing I want to understand is, what do you love about teaching? What are you scared of? What have you tried before? What worked? What didn't work? What's held you back? And specifically, what fears about group programs are living in your design decisions before you even made them? I had a client once who'd avoided group programs for years for one main reason. She didn't want them to feel like a glorified waiting room for one-on-one sessions. So when we finally built her group coaching program, every design decision she made unconsciously was a reaction to that fear. So she overloaded it with structure. So she was doing most of the talking. Even though she didn't want to be the center of attention, she still wanted to control everything because that's where she felt safe. And it really did come from a place of love and caring for her clients. She didn't want anybody to feel called out or feel uncomfortable, but there was no place for practicing. There was no place for the vulnerability or making mistakes or being witnessed in that, which can be so, so powerful. And it's not because she couldn't coach on the fly. She just wanted everybody to have an amazing experience. And when you open it up, sometimes you're not sure what's going to come to the surface. You're not sure what is going to come up in a conversation, what questions somebody might ask. So we had to peel away that discomfort to realize there is a better way to make the experience more impactful for the learners in that Zoom room. So that first phase is really about clearing the ground to understand what are these sometimes conscious or subconscious blocks that are keeping us from our full potential, from really doing something new, innovative, and wonderful. Phase two, it's all about the vision and your audience clarity. We want to get really clear on what you're actually building and who it's for. So this is where a lot of one-on-one coaches get tripped up, because you kind of want to customize everything. And so you think, oh, in a group program, I'm just going to teach to everyone. It's the same instinct, but it doesn't exactly work like that. We have to design more specifically. We have to think about not just the one client we know who may be in that program, but the multitude of clients. And yes, we'll get feedback once they sign up, but the more we can envision, the better we're going to use marketing that targets that ideal client and to create the structure that works best for that client or client types. It could be multiple client types. And so sometimes that means we have to think more broadly. It may not just be, do we need qualifiers? Do we need somebody to be at a minimum threshold of understanding? to get the most out of that program. We want to keep that in mind. Or if we want to open it up to a broader audience, then we need to think about, are there resources or materials that we need to give the newbies, the beginners, those who maybe aren't as far along in the process, to make sure that they feel like they can participate too. So this kind of clarity is really important. There's no right or wrong, but it is important to talk about, because we also will decide on modality here. Is it a live cohort? Is it a self-paced course? Is it a hybrid membership? All these things that we can do to scale. It shouldn't be based on what's trending. People say courses are dead, but honestly, sometimes a course is the best way to get information across. I find a lot of folks come to me already with the modality in mind. They want to make a course. They want to make a program. They want to scale to a group offer. That's great, but there's other decisions that may impact that. It really depends on what you're trying to accomplish. Is it a more self-reflective experience? Maybe one-on-one is perfect. Maybe a self-paced course with a workbook to help guide them through. Maybe that's all they need. Or would the communal experience of a live group coaching setting be even better? Or could you do a group experience asynchronously, where you're not actually on a call at the same time, but maybe you're sending audio messages back and forth? These are all common options, but it just is going to depend partly on you and your preferences and your desires, but also it will depend on your audience. So let's get clear on that vision. And that brings me to phase 3. The other thing we design for besides the audience are the outcomes. What is it that you want your students to be able to do by the end of your program? And this phase, honestly, changes everything. And it's the one that most coaches skip because they think about their content in terms of topics or feelings. And those aren't measurable in the same way as true learning outcomes. I don't need you to have all the modules planned out with all the topics you're going to include. I really want you to know, what is it that your students are going to be able to do by the time they finish. It's okay if you're not exactly sure how they get there yet. Start with that goal in mind, and then we're going to design from there. We're going to narrow it down. Honestly, I almost always build backwards. So you start with the goal, and then you think about what topics, modules, lessons, activities are going to get you to that outcome. All of those other things should be in service to those learning outcomes for your students. So if it doesn't connect back to what you ultimately want your student to be able to do, it doesn't belong, no matter how good it is. And maybe it's a sign that you need to do another course or another program, but we want to keep the focus of everything streamlined to those outcomes. The simpler and clearer we can be with those outcomes, I promise you, the better results you're going to get for your clients. And so you do have instincts in this area if you've been a successful one-on-one coach, because you already know what people need typically to understand or what they need to do to get the transformation. We just have to make that sequence more explicit. Okay, so that brings me to phase 4, which is the content design. And this is where typically we're going to strip things back, because we want to edit to make sure nothing that doesn't align with the outcomes is in your program. The most powerful programs are not the ones with the most content. They're the clearest, simplest ones. When we take away everything that doesn't serve the outcomes, we only add back in what actually creates transformation, not what makes you feel like you've given enough. 9 times out of 10, I am cutting content with clients because something you are excited about, it's probably just going to muddy the waters for your clients based on where they're at. I think this comes from so many of us experiencing imposter syndrome and deciding that adding more is the answer. If I give more value, I'll prove my worth. But you're a teacher, you're a coach, you're not an encyclopedia. So your clients want you to keep it simple. That's what they're paying you for. They have the whole internet at their disposal. They want you to simplify it to the key crucial steps that they need to take to get that outcome. Nothing more, nothing less, but keep it focused and keep it dialed into exactly what they need. And honestly, I find I am better at seeing this than most coaches are because I am not emotionally connected to your content. I'm not tied to it like you. So I can look with a more objective lens and say, this doesn't fit. Let's keep it simple. Let's keep it focused. What you have right here is enough. And for most coaches coming from a one on one sort of phase, this is really a relief because you realize you don't have to put everything you know to be of value or of service. You have to put the right things in. And so that takes me to phase 5, which is all about the experience and the polish. How does the content flow? Does the pacing feel human? Does the structure of the program allow for real life? Is there a balance between teaching and application? Are there facilitation techniques that we need to build so that your group sessions feel as connected and alive as your one-on-one calls? Knowing who your audience is, that's why it's going to help you. If you know that they are busy entrepreneurs, often moms with multiple jobs and hats they're wearing, it may be harder for them to do a lot of content and keep up every week. You may need to space things out a little more. Or is it okay that somebody can't come every time? Is it okay that they're going to catch up on their own time? Or are they going to feel left behind because you're going through a curriculum? These are all important things to think about so you don't lose your audience. And absolutely, in this fully polished design, we want your stories, your experiences with failure and success, all the good, bad, and ugly that you've been through to get where you are. But I think you also need to take a step back and remember to let your clients do the talking. I find too many coaches will insert themselves in every conversation, and that's not giving enough space for the client to process and bring their experiences to the forefront. Think back to your best coaching experiences. Who did most of the talking? In my experience, it's usually me. If I'm being coached, I want to do more talking than the coach. I want them to have the key insights and help ask me those poignant questions or course correct when I've gotten off topic. But honestly, sometimes I love getting off topic. Sometimes I just want them to let me go and meander where I need to, as long as they can bring me back. And I love my coaches. They let me process my thoughts. They let me tell them everything on my mind and in my heart. And that's where I think sometimes the magic nuggets of wisdom that I want to bring out into my programs, that's where they come through, not from me just passively listening to the coach talk. So we want to create engagement. We want students to do something, not just sit back and listen. So this is a good time where we think about that experience in phase 5. And then in phase 6, this is where we test and refine. You finally get to run with it with real people. Sometimes it's a beta test group or sometimes it's a smaller group, but sometimes it's your full coaching program. And it's okay that it's not perfect. Pay attention to whether they loved it, whether they got the outcomes. Ask them for feedback. Then you refine based on not only your experience, but theirs. And it doesn't mean it was wrong. Honestly, even if it was perfect, even if it was great, you have a new group of students all the time, whether it's cohort based or whether they cycle in through an evergreen program. No 2 days are ever alike. And honestly, sometimes I find coaches get bored. They want to try new things because they've done this before. They want to experience something new to keep it fresh for them. But it's good. You need to get used to reiterating on your ideas, and maybe something sparks some inspiration. Maybe the marketplace has changed. Maybe the needs, maybe the skills you're teaching, maybe you want to try a different approach. There's so many reasons, but it's good to think about how might you refine or improve the next time. So always be thinking about the iteration, because that's part of our own growth, and seeing that and being open to new possibilities is going to keep our students in that headspace as well. So the goal is learning and improvement, certainly not perfection. So here's what I want you to take away. if you've been sitting on the idea of scaling your one-on-one, maybe into a group program, maybe a course, maybe a membership, and something keeps stopping you, I want you to consider that the thing stopping you probably isn't readiness, it is design. It is knowing how. It's okay that you don't yet know how to take what you do brilliantly in your one-on-one and magnify it to a group so that it still has the essence of what makes you so special. That is something not everyone is trained in. I am. It's learnable. It is buildable. We can solve that problem. You already have the genius. You just need to find the right guide. And I fully believe that most people's knowledge was not built just to live only in one-on-one sessions. I think it was meant to reach people who may never have the capacity to work one-on-one with you. And when you have a well-designed program, you're building on those outcomes, you're structured for real learning, you are keeping it polished to hold your presence even when you're not live there. That's what makes it all possible for you to do more and have a bigger impact. So think about those phases the next time you may be curious and how people like me do what I do. There's a whole process behind it. And I try to make it really personable. And I really want you to feel empowered to be more of yourself to more people. So if this landed for you, find me on Instagram. I'm at The Learning Alchemist, where I talk about curriculum design, program architecture, and how to build group programs that actually deliver results. And follow along. If you're ready to do this work, please reach out. Thanks for being here today, and I will see you in the next one. Thanks for tuning in to The Learning Alchemy Lab. If you enjoyed this episode, hit subscribe and connect with me on Instagram at The Learning Alchemist. Until next time, keep teaching with intention and creating learning that truly transforms.